that's uh that's actually perfect to express and everything.
Yeah.
This is my first. I've done it once or twice before, but I kind of took over this project, and I just kind of dove in and just kind of like quickly like looked at my notes. And there's some stuff I mostly I'm just kind of build it off of what I did in Django, with the same principles, but um, yeah, so that'd be perfect. I've got lots of questions. I'm using Passport and things.
Yeah, well, there's no guarantee that I know the answers or that other people might know the answers, but we definitely look forward to learning. So,
Okay. Yeah. So how does this work? Do you run it or I just got this through Meetup. I don't know if like.
yeah, no, it's always a surprise. It's on who shows up. I'm the host, I'm the facilitator, but I
Okay.
definitely am not the only person who knows things or wants to help out. And so I will be screen sharing and coding at the beginning, but usually if people are comfortable, like Duke might join us later as another member who want to learn and share their screens, then I
Okay.
work with them and other people work with them. And I read the answers to your questions or everyone's questions to the meetup. What do you want to learn? And so I thought this was a good choice because I pick up on these threads. I talked to a few other people like, what are you working on? What are you learning? And other people were learning Express and wanting a database backend or,
Okay.
there's been a lot of React and front end focus recently, just because we had another member, Disbulak, who's really good at it. And, everyone naturally, when you see a website, it's the first thing you think about. It's like, how do I make that cool,
Yeah.
an effect or whatever. So I still would like to get good at that. I must
Yeah.
say,
I want to dive into React next. I played with it like 3-4 times, and I actually did it with Solidity, the Ethereum language.
oh yeah, I've done some Web3, and there's some Web3 fans here too. So
Yeah, and that gets really complicated. And I just built it off of not like a real blockchain, just off of like Nochi. It's and you just use like Faucet. You just create like just like a it's like a node server.
wait, is it
Just
spelled like Nochi, like the food?
yeah, it's I think I might be pronouncing it wrong. This is a while ago. This is probably like 6-7 months ago. But there's a bunch of stuff that I never used before, and like you have to like go to like get a faucet and get your own Ethereum. But even though it's fake on my MetaMask account, there's a lot of stuff you had to do. That was interesting. But yeah, so I like and like the one thing everything I was reading that you want to really use React. And they gave a bunch of stuff when I read the pros and cons of using like CSS, HTML. It made a lot of sense to use React with it. Anyways, sorry, that's my React. So why I started playing with React was because of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a fan of React. There are a few computing frameworks. I've been around long enough to like have seen all these fads, and I've been in hackathons where people would just like,
Okay.
grab me by the collar and be like, oh, you've got to learn this new thing. And I did like several times. And then like, a few months later, like you were saying, 6 or 7 months is forever in developer time. And so if a library has survived 6 or 7 months and has achieved sort of like widespread status, then that's like a mark of success. So, React has been for a while. Lots of people learn it. Almost every website you go to, maybe even GitHub, uses React.
Yeah, there's that. What is it? I think I have it
tools
on my computer. I install where you can check to see if it's a React, if they're built on React.
Yeah, there's a React developer tools.
Yeah, I think I have that. Where's my Land Brave? Oh, it's in my where is it? Yeah, React developer tools.
Oh yeah, it says dev tools
Yeah.
source. Oh, but
Yeah, so I've got my my site open as like that. This isn't React. Yeah, my React developer tool. Yeah, you can use that, and it tells you if it's React or not.
yeah, well, GitHub is not.
Really?
Maybe Stripe does not look like it is either, but Facebook for sure is. Yeah, I'm not logged in, but
yeah. Meta. Yeah, didn't they? Wait, who was it? Who developed React? Was that Twitter or Facebook?
It's Facebook.
Facebook.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think my React developer tools are working correctly, because it's saying Facebook cannot load like the map for it. Well, anyway, yeah, there's other libraries. There's one called Vue that that
Vue.
I have friends that like, and they really hey, this Bullock, speak of the React devil. We were just talking about famous websites that were made in React and how to tell. And I was trying to load the React developer tools and go to a website and see, you know, if
you're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, maybe it's my Wi-Fi is kind of spotty, and maybe I'll sit closer to my microphone. But yeah, do you know if there's a way to tell if a website is using React other than, you know, inspecting the source code meticulously? Like, can you just use the React developer tools?
I'm assuming I heard. Do you know if there's a way to tell?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you say if the website is written with React.
Yes.
There is. Do you have the React developer tools installed?
I believe so. How does one know if that's true?
Because those should. Let me pull up a site. Let me look at Metagame site, which I know is React, and let's see if it shows up as in the developer tools.
Can you guys see my screen? Okay, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm looking at it.
I see. No, I see you, and that is it.
Oh, thanks for.
That's you. I see you as the only other person in this room.
Yeah, there's Brian who's joining us from Zoom, and I'm going to try and bridge all the screen shares.
Oh, you're in Zoom. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, so one of them, Zoom may be stealing the microphone, and you're hearing me through. Well, how would that work? Because usually only one application takes access of the microphone, and then
I'm only on Zoom.
What's that?
It's got to be Zoom that's got your microphone because I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know the best way to bridge.
I mean, I can join the Zoom call.
Yeah, let's let me post the link to it.
Where's the link to it?
This is almost comical. I will post it, and yeah, so I didn't have the React developer tools not installed, but they are now. And let me now go to Facebook.
Yeah, I just tried it. It didn't work. I wasn't logged in, but oh, Netflix is React. I wonder if I have to be logged in.
Interesting. Yeah, so yeah, how would React developer tools show up? That's interesting.
Oh yeah, it works for me. So if I go to Netflix,
yeah,
I think you have to be logged in if you do Facebook. And then it just in my developer tools in Chrome, I just click on that was a little puzzle. Well, I have it hidden. So and then I just clicked React developer tools and it detects it. Shows like a little screen.
This page is using a production build of React. Okay, open developer tools and components and profiler tabs will appear on the right. Okay, so I should be looking for components and profiler. Oh, hey, is that Duke?
I would expect it to show up where you just click that double arrow. Maybe reload the page.
Yeah, or restart the browser. You know, these are all tried and true.
I don't know, but yeah, in mine it shows up next to Lighthouse in that menu there.
Yeah, I'm gonna restart Chrome. Well, Brian here was just telling us that he did Web3 Solidity stuff 6 or 7 months ago, and he was learning this library called Nochi, and everything is named after delicious food. And
What I might be wrong. I might be screwing that up. It's like a chocolate covered like cover thing. I don't know.
oh, ganache.
Ganache, yeah. Sorry.
Well, Nochi is a thing, so I mean, it just goes to show you that no joke is too ridiculous in Web3. If you're saying like, if you just made up a library name, like,
Yeah. I don't remember everything I was using. Sorry.
there's a motivation game we're playing called Mochi, which is like Japanese ice cream balls, and ganache is like it's like a chocolate liqueur or something. But
Yeah. That's what the symbol was like.
yeah,
Yeah, there it is. I should have just said shuffle.
yeah. This, I mean, at least the plugin will tell you whether it's been built with React, and it even tells you the production build, which probably means like some things that may explain why I'm getting errors saying that we can't load the source map because if I understand correctly, the source map is I mean, people write in some like high level language, and then it gets compiled down to maybe like the most compatible Java, like JavaScript, and the source map lets you debug, like gives you the original line numbers of the person who like developed this website in their high level language. And if you compile to production, then it strips away, all this extra information just to be smaller and faster to load. And so maybe that's why the components are not showing up. Oh, but here we are, components and profiler. So
Yeah, no, they're minified, so they're going to be just letters.
well, I appreciate it because, otherwise this indenting tree, down and to the right, it's the opposite of what you want in crypto. You want up and to the right, but these expansions are okay, cool. I'm still learning how to use context in React. I know there's providers and some like parent component, and then there are context consumers and child components. So this is cool. So Ganache uses React, probably Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix does.
Yeah. So next time my friend Miguel starts like bragging about how great Vue is, I'll be like, who uses Vue? No. But
I've been learning about signals. Are you familiar with signals?
No, is it a React thing?
So no, it's not. So in React, you have a dependency matrix or a dependency array where when something needs to be rerun with signals. Yeah, scroll down a little bit and see if they'll show an example of a use of a signal.
So yeah, it appears to be like tracking dependency. So you can initialize a signal as 0. So it looks kind of like a state. And then as a
I was expecting the signal to be called as a method. Let's see.
Well, it is signal initialized to 0. So it's almost like,
well, not just in the creation, but in the access. But so what happens is in a method where a signal is accessed, the system will automatically subscribe to changes in that signal. And if that signal is changed, then it will automatically rerun the appropriate code. You don't have a dependency array. You don't have to track dependencies yourself. It's automatically tracked by the system.
okay, well, how is this different than React State? Because, React State also re-renders components, and it's supposed to figure out the dependencies for you. I know there's like some new feature of React lets you specify the dependencies explicitly. Maybe that's context, so it knows when to re-render. But if you just use state, isn't that like isn't that guaranteed to re-render?
Yes. But this would be like you would have a signal be like if you had an input with a value, that value would be do a search for a solid JS. I think it's called solid.
A reactive JavaScript library.
Yeah. They're called React. It's called reactive, even though React is not reactive under this definition of reactive.
It doesn't react to backend data, for sure. Yeah, that's a chief complaint people have about it.
You might look at examples there or Playground, either one. Let's see if this has an example.
So create a signal, and then, okay, so far it's like state, you get back a setter method and a getter variable or handle, and then you
And you'll notice on line 11, when you're accessing the value of count there, it's being called as a method. Count is being called as a method rather than just as a value.
Okay, probably because the handle from create signal is probably just an object, and is not what you want. You actually want the value, and so in the previous library,
it allows it so that when something changes, when the count changes, the only thing that's updated in the page is that value of count there, that one element. It allows for very specific, not only do you have to not manually track dependencies, but it allows for very targeted updates of values.
Hello. Okay, so very targeted updates. I'm not totally seeing yet the advantage. I mean, I agree with you that it's interesting.
Yeah. No, I'm not switching off of React yet myself, but this is apparently more. It doesn't, and also I don't think it uses a virtual DOM. Which
look at and remember a card in the middle of the deck.
So it could be faster.
Yes, no, it's supposedly fast. You might, I don't know. I don't know. I'll look up performance. I'm getting an echo. I'm getting an echo from somebody.
It's okay. Looks like Jared's a bomber, so I reported him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's always a toss-up. You never know who's going to show up to public meetups, but sometimes you get a cool new friend like Ryan, so it's worth opening your heart.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's see, what is my preferred React experimentation? I know there's like a to-do app, and this is kind of a sidetrack. I told Brian and Duke that we work on Express database stuff, which we'll get to. But if curiosity strikes, then I like to try it first.
I've also been watching, it's on my list to watch more on it, but there are Rust frameworks now for doing page generation.
Rust page generation. I know, I mean, there's been a lot of more interactivity. Like I know there's this SWC, which is like a compiler.
Yes.
But this is beat. And it's written in Rust too.
But in this, you're actually writing, like it looks like React code-ish, but instead of, I'm trying to remember the name of the framework I was learning about. Let me go to YouTube and I'm sure it'll be in the top results because I've been watching videos on it. But you actually write, it looks like React-ish code, but instead of mixing in JavaScript, you're mixing in Rust.
Interesting. I know there's like an interplay which I don't fully understand. People have Rust that compiles to WASM, and then JavaScript can also compile to WASM, or JavaScript can load WASM, which was like written in Rust before, and you can refer to symbols, across the two domains. Let's see, I need to install Solid.js.
Leptos is the one I've been learning about. Leptos. Let me find an example of Leptos.
Maybe that's a fundamental particle, lepton, but leptos means something.
Yeah, scroll down and see there. You got like div. It looks like it's essentially JSX, but instead of JavaScript, you got Rust.
Yeah, no, it still looks pretty alien to me. Like this bang, I know is like for mutability.
Oh yeah, Rust is. It's supposed, again, it keeps coming in as one of the most loved languages, but I do not know how to write it myself.
We're getting there. I know we're all social animals, so if we hear that Stack Overflow survey, Rust, most loved language, you know, you like, oh, there must be something there. It must be the
Yeah.
celebrity of programming languages. But cool. So you can embed JSX like things into the middle here, and it looks like you can substitute variables from the surrounding context. So that's what value. And okay, so the advantage is that you get this idea of signal even in Rust is what I mean.
That exists as well. It's also signal based. At least Leptos is. He actually, I'll find the video that I watched. He did a comparison between like 3 or 4 Rust frameworks for doing web stuff, and also 3 or 4 JavaScript frameworks, and compared performance and memory usage and all that stuff.
Yeah, please find the video and send it. And don't worry, everyone, you know, this or worry everyone, this video is being recorded, but I'll give people a chance to redact anything they want to later. But I'll go back and collect all the notes, all the links that we're talking about, and put them in some show notes. But it does have this cool word isomorphic, which in the past people have used. There's an old framework called Meteor, which was purporting to let you write client server code in the same form, like, you know, in the same, essentially the same runtime that would compile down, and it would auto generate the client part and the server part. And you could refer to the same variable in between the two of them instead of passing them back and forth and having separate memories. So when I see isomorphic, I think that Leptos is letting you do some of that too. And then, okay, so it's Rust, and there are all kinds of interesting Rust runtimes and compile times. Like I think Deno is a runtime written by the creator of Node. You know, Node rotated, the rot2 of Node is Deno, and that's written in Rust, but it is a runtime for TypeScript. And I know people have made websites out of that too. So yeah, it's a lot to wrap.
So it natively runs TypeScript? I thought that it was JavaScript based. I didn't know that.
Deno is Rust.
But it runs TypeScript.
Oh, it looks like it's calling itself a JavaScript runtime, but I thought for sure it was mostly TypeScript.
Oh, there you go. TypeScript out of the box.
Yeah. Oh man, this is everyone's really bragging about how loved they are in the Stack Overflow survey.
How I don't get how it's that different from Node.js. What does it do that's different?
What does Deno do that's different?
Yeah.
Oh, it compiles into a single binary. So basically all the benefits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you can just like run your whole web app as a binary. You like start it up and it's its own web server, and it's supposed to be fast because you might be worried about, you know, if every web app contains its own server code, like isn't that going to slow it down and be inefficient? And but you know, the advantages of Rust, I think all or a lot of the dependencies are compiled in. And yeah, no, I'd love to.
Yeah, hang on. Do you mind scrolling down to that table, that one right there?
Yeah.
That's an odd format for that table. What is
that? Node is like more full featured than Deno, or maybe Deno is like an intermediate in terms of like
the light colored bars mean that it's not present. So like Safari doesn't have URL pattern, URL pattern, and Node doesn't have URL pattern.
Is that
no, Node doesn't have response.json, window.close, window.alert, local storage. Okay. Apparently it's got a lot of like browser-ish things that Node doesn't have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. That's
today I learned.
But I agree, it's listed in a way that makes you think that there's like a progression that like to the right is better than to the left, or these are slider bars. So yeah.
Yeah, it's the light colored bar is not how I would have done that. I would have done like check marks in the column that it's in.
Yeah. Well, now I'm curious. So if there's a hello world for Deno, I'll just like run it. I'll just run it now.
Well, it should be console.log hello world, right?
Well, I mean a web app.
Okay.
Let's see, examples, hello world, there's read and write files, there's OS. Okay, that's a different kind of signals than what you're talking about. just going to jump ahead. Everyone loves chat apps, right? So. Yeah, I mean, this is just, so far it looks like standard JavaScript, not even TypeScript. You know, I don't see anything typed in here, but it's
Yeah.
referring to a window. And okay, so I think here now we're getting into the Deno part. So Deno lets you load modules. Okay, loading TypeScript modules. So that's cool. Built-in TypeScript module loading. So probably the type annotations are like built in, or they're at a deterministic URL that's like predetermined by the source, the module URL, and it loads for you. It may even like pull this and build it into your module as you're building it. So it's like a cross web, you know, dependency resolution as you're compiling everything into a single Deno binary. And, you know, here Express, we'll get to Express eventually, but it has like Express-like things. Maybe this is Express. App equals new. Oh, no, it's okay, so once you have Deno and then you have this source code, then you can pull it down. So, all right, was I weird enough to have Deno already installed? Oh, Deno 1.22. Okay, so it's like I invite you guys into my room and I see all this crap lying around, which is like my home directory. And then you're like, ooh, what's this? And I'll be like, oh, I downloaded that, you know, like 7 months ago and never touched it again.
Yeah, I've got several apps like that.
Yeah, and then, you know, also I have a reasonable number of browser tabs open so that, you know, I'm like ADHD legit, and that you should be, you know, half listening to what I say about code. Server.js. Okay, I wonder if I need the public asset.
Surprised it doesn't have a README.
You know, this guy was so hot to trot, like bring down the burning commandments from down from heaven, that he didn't have time to write it, README for us. So we gotta piece it together on our own.
You could also just clone that repo, or you could do it that way.
Yes, I could. There's many. Okay, Deno run, allow read. So it looks like there's these fine-grained permissions on the runtime, so you can allow it to read, but that's like saying you can read all of my file system, or you can allow all network communication. So it seems kind of like, you know, Android permissions, where sure, it seems more secure because it's asking you for permission, but you have to agree to such coarse-grained things that I don't know, it might as well not even be protecting you. Okay, so it's downloading modules. Turn up the contrast on my screen. Although I'm sure you guys don't care. You see whatever contrast is on your screen. Listening on port 8080. I guess I do need the public assets. All right, I'll do it. I'll do it the way this Bulik said, which was better. Because probably the public has this index that it's serving, and okay, so it doesn't look isomorphic yet. I mean, I know that was the other thing, leptos. So if you're curious, like what is not isomorphic, it's like this, where you have separate client code, which the server serves, and then it loads on the client's browser, and then the two like talk to each other, but they're in separate files, they're in separate directories, and that's normal. That's like the state of programming now, is like forcing people to be really good at holding a ton of stuff in their heads.
Though React now does do server rendering quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that. Because I think, like, wasn't Next.js one of the benefits was that it would be like pre-compile server rendered, you know.
Yeah, a whole lot of your code now won't ever get sent to the client. Only if you mark it as client code will it get sent to the client.
Oh, really? Okay, is that the same as like web packing, or, you know, Vite packing? Like it makes these
When it's sent to the code that is sent to the client will be bundled.
Yeah, so you'll get like chunks. That's the word. I was searching for the word. You'll get chunks. It'll blow chunks at you. Oh
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You sent YouTube video. Okay. Well, this is like a self-contained web app in a Deno runtime, and but the public assets are outside of the runtime, and so what is okay? So Deno, you can think of it as like Node, but allowing some Node with some OS permissions, like reading file system, network communication, and like loading modules across the web, loading modules that are TypeScript across the web. It is fast. I have to admit that starting it up, like, what's the command? Is it just time? If I want to time.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to tell me anything. So I kept it open for seconds, but.
Well, it tells you how much like processor time to use, which is that 0.15 seconds, I think.
That was until I ended it, but.
Well, no, the 2.859 at the end is your total. But I think that the 0.15 is that's how much CPU time it used. I think. I'm not terribly familiar with the time command. I have not used it in a while.
Yeah, I think it's designed for not long running processes, so processes that are meant to terminate, and then they only live as long as I want to live. They only live as long as they need to complete their job, and so they're like running a race to kill themselves at the end, whereas this server processes run forever. So I think the time is less, but it felt snappy. You guys have to take my word for it until you run it for yourself. So when you press enter after the Deno command, it spins up a web server way faster than a Node Express server. Actually, that's a good comparison. After we do the Node Express part, we can time that, and I guess we could, instead of listening, what's a good? I don't know, a good benchmark, but well, that's cool. Let me see if there's well, I'll leave it up to you guys. Are you interested in do you want to try some of this Leptos signal stuff in React, or shall we move on to Node Express?
I'll let other people chime in. Right?
I'm definitely on board with the Express, but that's just because what I'm working on right now, so it greatly helped me. But I would be open to this. It's later on.
Yeah, let's come back to this, at the end when we have like more time, and yeah, let's start some Express. So I'm going to see,
what is your Express server going to do?
It is the Mozilla Express local library. It's going to show like a basic library. It's like a technical interview question, right? Like write the object-oriented class structure for a library. And so you think about, what is a book? A book has properties like an author and a title, and then maybe your library has bookshelves, and each bookshelf can hold a certain number of books. And then you have actions like check out a book, and you have checks. So, you can't check out a book twice. You have to return it before someone else can check it out again.
What's your database going to be?
It is going to be Mongo, just for simplicity.
Okay. Now I have looked at Mongo once in my entire life. I know diddly about it.
Yeah, well, it means big, has a fun name. Fun fact, it's a New York City company. So I went to the beach once. I went to Rockaway Beach in New York and I took a surfing lesson. And the 4 other people, fun, good-looking people in their 30s taking the class with me were all Mongo employees. And this was their like weekend fun trip. And I was working for Etsy at the time. So we kind of like nodded at each other like, oh, you work for a hipster tech company too. But they, as far as I know, it seemed like a fairly successful company. They're a stock symbol. You can look at the stock symbol for Mongo, and it's a NoSQL database, probably the most.
Yeah, it's a document database, right?
Yeah, so I don't think it doesn't lets you have built-in structured queries. I mean, you can have a limited amount of metadata, I believe, and you can store just like text, right? All your structured JSON and binary data, you convert it to text. If it's binary, maybe you encode it to like base 64 and save it, and then it could probably do some indexing to make lookup faster, but it's basically just like key value. That's my understanding. If anyone has a different one in their readings, please.
Oh, is it key value or is it document based? Or
yeah, to me, it's the
dictionary.
Yeah. So like
I think that okay.
I think of it as Redis. Like Redis has no structured queries either. But let me refine my understanding with what is a document database versus Redis. So it says they're both NoSQL databases. So NoSQL is structured query language. So like MySQL and Postgres. And the reason why I'm not proceeding with Postgres tonight is because it is more complex. And if you don't need it, you don't have to reach for it as your first thing if you want to get something up and running quickly. So okay, so Mongo lets you store binary JSON. So maybe better support for binary data like images and such. Looks like they have a query. It's not as powerful as SQL, but more powerful than Redis. Better for creating indexes. So multiple ways of looking at your data. If it's geographical data, for example. So of these, Redis seems like the more bare bones and simple, like super fast to spin up.
I was like faster.
Yeah, probably faster. I like Redis.
It's hard to beat an in-memory. It's all in memory, right? So it's hard to beat that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have some backing up and stuff, but yeah, I think their claim to fame is being in memory and fast. Okay, so that clears it up a little bit. So let me paste the link of the tutorial that we'll be working on in the Discord, and then also the Zoom chat. And here they describe, the local library is the name of the website, and it's meant to exercise our understanding of Express, and I guess like not be a big library. I'm not a librarian, so I don't know like what more you would need to handle a big library. Yeah, so I think the first thing we're going to do is create the skeleton website. And while I'm here, if I have OpenAI ChatGPT open, I'm going to throw some of that in just because, sex up the demo a little bit. If we're able to ask it to autocomplete, maybe we have a sense of, how GitHub Copilot would work, or how we would demonstrate how we would use if we were building a plugin, or an AI powered business. There's been some interest in entrepreneurship recently. How do we build a compelling product? How do we try it out on customers? The wait list. By the way, in our Discord server, we already have access to ChatGPT, an older version. So if you, in any channel, public channel, if you type AI, well, let me demonstrate that briefly here. you can say bang AI and then also say, you know, give me boilerplate code for an Express web app.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you going to use for the front end?
Well, I think right now it's just an API. So that's a good question. I think this is a
I
very
mean, you could use Postman and just directly hit the API. I assumed you were going to do some sort of front end. I was also going to say, if you do, are you familiar with Next.js's API endpoints?
No, I know. I guess like I was thinking of Next.js as some bundling over React and like routing and some other nice features that people use. You know, people used to use Angular and Vue to have some nicer features because React is pretty low level for like components. So, but yeah. So
it also includes an Express server. You can create, but it does all of the setup and all that stuff for you. That said, this isn't going to use WebSockets. If you deploy to Vercel, at least, I was going to ask, are you going to host the MongoDB locally? Or are you going to, did you have a web, like a cloud-based provider somewhere?
Yeah, I'm going to open a code sandbox and then I'll share it. So it should always be running. Start closing things.
Do they have a code sandbox for Next.js?
They do.
Well, no, if you want to get into the details of setting up Express, though, you can do that. You can do it that way. It's just if I was doing this as an application, I would almost certainly use Next because the API endpoints it handles a lot of the setup and stuff. All that you have to define is the actual implementation, like the bit of code that you want to actually use. And my screen is now frozen. Is anybody else getting data?
Yeah, mine's frozen too.
Okay. So I guess it's just learner's screen is frozen. Yeah, there he goes.
Who's the first one?
I'm assuming network issues on his end.
Yeah, he said he's having some problems with his internet connection. Peggy dropped. He'll be back on.
Yeah.
So what's have you ever used EJS? template?
EJS?
Yeah. It's
What
like-
does it do? No, I'm unfamiliar with it. What does it do?
Okay. It's like really is instead of using like React, it's just really simple like HTML templating.
EJS. No, I'm surprised I've never heard of it. I spend a lot of time learning about new technologies.
Hey, it's not new. I think it's old. That's why. It's just
Embedded JavaScript templates.
Yeah, I'm just using it right now, using Express and Node and Postgres, and I just use EJS because it was similar to doing things with Django.
Okay, so do you do Python?
I don't really. I'm better with Python, and I just quickly got tossed into something. Said, yeah, sure, I can help out and try doing something. And it's just it's a Postgres backend, and then it's they wanted something really simple, and I just EJS looked really easy. It looked just like actually I stole some stuff I had from a Django application. I just converted it to EJS templates. And because they use the templating language is called Jinja. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And EJS is really similar. So
Okay.
that's just like,
Yeah.
you just pass your data, you just, when you render an HTML, EJS file, you just pass.
Looks
your-
like PHP, honestly. Like it
Yeah,
reminds
yeah.
me of PHP.
Yeah. When I played with React a little bit, it's kind of the same, but not really. I mean, React is different, a lot more powerful, I think better. But you kind of pass in the data the same way, slightly.
Okay.
But yeah, EJS is actually really easy to get up and going. If you're just, as long as I just tied in like Google Maps API to it, to do like render a bunch of data for nests and images and things of that nature.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the actual application is doing.
Yeah, right now, so what it is, I don't know if you've ever heard of ChirpStack.
I have not.
In open source, it's devices out in the field, cameras that are sending low range frequency. So it's like you get like 51 bytes that can go with it. But basically every minute, this camera is going to be sending in data. And it'll be like a sliver of an image that you got to parse together later on. And it's just basically the sensory data on for wildlife tracking.
That's cool.
What's going on. So I'm like really sad. No, like the trip stack's way over my head. So I gotta try to learn that and figure it all out. And then just basically tie that into a Postgres. But really right now I just need to show all the devices that are out in the field, and just I'm using Fusion charts. That's what they were using. It's an API for displaying some data. So there's sensory data for the nests. A nest could be anything. I just got one hooked up to a bird nest right now that I'm using as my demo.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is writing, like, are you just writing SQL, like raw SQL, or how are you interfacing with Postgres?
Well, so I'm doing I'm setting up everything with just SQL with Postgres, and then I'm just using PG. So what is it? Node. It's called Node Postgres. Just install it. It's a library, and then I just write the query.
Yeah.
It's called PG. It's when you install it, and I just require it, import it for whatever you do, and then I'm just doing it that way. So let's say if I have a poke like I'm working on right now, I had to do a really complex piece because I had to access a bunch of tables, and they get created dynamically as data comes in. I created
the tables are created dynamically.
Yeah. So then to access
Really?
them, what's that?
That's interesting. It's an interesting method.
I don't know if that's the best.
What's the structure of the data that you need custom tables?
Well, it's that I just want to have like a one table for every time a new device comes online. I just want to create a new table for it.
So each device has its own table.
Exactly. And it has this concept of, and I don't know if this is the best way. Again, I just took this over. I'm just trying to throw it together as quickly as possible. And so what I'm doing is a device comes online, I have one table. It's called a device table, and then every device, then as it comes in, I just have a trigger that checks if it's a unique device. All the device names have to be unique, and that only one camera will come with a 32-digit code. So then that comes online, and then I just create a table for it. So it'll be blah blah blah. The UI number.
Why not? I don't understand why you don't just join the devices table to another table that has the same rows that's in, because the columns in each device table are the same, right?
Yes.
Why aren't you doing? I mean, why not join?
I don't know. That's
okay.
An idea. I was just thinking through the flow, and that's what I came up with to get it going, to make sense of it. But I don't know if that's the best way. I'm not the greatest databaser.
Yeah, no, I actually, most of my Postgres, I use a system called Hasura.
Okay.
That lets you you define your data model, and it's all stored in Postgres, but there is a GraphQL front end. If you've ever written GraphQL.
No.
Okay, well, so like with what we're working on now, these are REST endpoints. So the endpoint has each endpoint has a specific function, and has a specific structure to the data it returns.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with GraphQL, you specify in your query the structure of the data that you want to get back.
Okay.
And so it allows a lot more flexibility in what's returned. And you really only have one endpoint. You don't have an endpoint for each different function. You have one endpoint, and to that endpoint, you send a GraphQL query that says what data you want to get out of it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe John's back, or Paul's back. Maybe afterwards we can I could show you and or go and I'd like to get some recommendations, because I'm not the trip stack and everything is over my head, so I'm just learning it as I go.
Yeah.
I don't mind bouncing off someone who's you have a lot more knowledge than I do on the subject.
No, I mean SQL. I mean I did SQL quite a bit over the years. As I was saying, most of it's now abstracted away behind GraphQL for me, but I do know the basics of. They're called normal forms. There's database normal forms, which have to do with how much your data is repeated. And it's called normalization.
Okay.
But I did learn that stuff once upon a time.
Yeah. Sorry for dropping out, guys, but it sounds like you're having an interesting conversation, so I didn't want to interrupt. And Brian, if you're willing to screen share, we can help like pair programmer work on your problem as well. Make whatever progress, or even just explore.
No, right now I'm just good. Really, just seeing what we can do on the Express. There's a lot of things. I still have a lot of questions about Express that I want to get answered. The best way to do some things. I don't know what the like cores and just it's different security, more or less. I don't know if we're going to get that far, but
yeah.
So it looks like this application is using Pug in order to do the HTML generation.
Yeah, it's a templating engine like Jade.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I think Pug, Jade, and EJS, they all look pretty close. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of preference. I've probably done a bunch of tutorials on each one. I've seen Pug, it's very compact. It looks, like Markdown, but lets you substitute in variables. So
I think isn't Jade, isn't that like part of Express, if I remember reading that correctly? It's a few weeks ago, but
it may be the default.
Yeah. I think that's what I read. It was a default. I don't know how I ended up with. I think I ended up with EJS because it looked the most like what I was doing in Django with Jinja. It was low copy and paste for me to switch it over.
Yeah. So this example of Jade here is like Python-like. It's like very, or CoffeeScript. It's like indentation based or scoping, and it lets you assign attributes. Okay, and then we can see we're specifying Pug because I guess the default is something different. And
so is it generating 8? So okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like create React app for Express. And, you may argue that the Express boilerplate is too simple to require a generator, but I don't remember it all. I think every time I have to create an Express app, which is usually some toy API that I want to like spin up quickly for a hackathon, I have to reread, how to use Express all over again, or I like pull up an old skeleton repository on GitHub that I did just so I could just like clone it. So it's not a bad idea to make it.
No, that's why I was saying I use Next.js for my API stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because it handles all that Express stuff. And I just you write only the functional part of the specific return values that you want to return is all that you have to deal with.
Oh, they even have a command where you can donate to NPM directly from the command line, NPM fund. That's it's very commercial. Nothing is sacred anymore.
Everybody's got to eat. I respect that, and it's open. I like the fact that open source is becoming, at least for all these frameworks and a lot of the server stuff and all of the back end, at least, is now open source. I still hate Windows with a passion because it's closed source.
Is it? I mean, I know it's free now, and it's
definitely closed source. Yeah,
it
like the source of
incorporates
Windows is not. Yeah, it's definitely not open.
I guess that's true. They are more open to collaborating with Linux, and they have like a Windows subsystem for Linux, but they don't return the reverse favor where they like contribute back their source code. So you could be right about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have partially forgiven Microsoft for the work they're doing with GitHub, but Windows as a product, I think that it has been a drag on the software ecosystem in a major way, because everything is developed for, as I said earlier, I think on a different call, like I've got a key light, I've got a Stream Deck, and I've got a keyboard, all of which only have Windows drivers for their customization. Or I guess probably Mac, but I don't have the money for a Mac.
Well,
And
I don't think
I like
anyone
Linux.
Yeah, I don't
Go
think
ahead.
anyone should really have the money for a Mac. I was trying to switch over to my Linux desktop actually for today, but baby steps. I still gotta install Discord and Zoom and all that over there. But it probably would have held up better, not crashing. Mac OS crashed, but it did it in a beautiful UI way. Okay, so we have a Express app, which is the default. Express generator gave us this empty index.html, and then so bare bones web server records get requests, host requests. They're using NodeMon here to automatically update Node and Express whenever changes are made to the file. So go ahead and add that.
I had always pronounced that No Demon, and I had no idea why it was called that. NodeMon makes so much more sense.
It could be no
I
demon.
think you're right.
Sounds...
I think you're correct. I just had never parsed it in that way before.
If you don't use the -- save, is there anything different done?
I think by default it saves now, but it saves it as a runtime dependency instead of a dev dependency.
Okay.
Yeah, I was reading that I shouldn't be using Yarn anymore because it was built to deal with some things that were lacking in NPM, and NPM has subsequently fixed all its holes, and so that I should switch back to NPM, which I'm considering doing, but yeah, I'm not in any rush. And now I've lost everybody. Go ahead.
I think it froze again.
Yeah.
So what was if you do the save, what did he say it does?
It'll save it as a he was saving things as dev dependencies rather than just dependencies. He was saying that if you leave off save, that used to, I guess it didn't save it at all. I don't know NPM terribly well. I've been using Yarn for years.
Okay.
But what he was saying was that it would save it as a regular dependency rather than a dev dependency. Okay. And he was writing --save--dev. So it would save it as a dev dependency.
Okay. So where does that show? So when you load so when you launch your application, I've never launched anything with Node or Express. You just have to use that package.json, right? And when you bundle everything up, that'll have all my dependencies in it, right? What I'm using. Like I'm
yes, all of your dependencies. I mean, if you did npm install, it would install whatever's listed, whatever libraries are listed in your dependencies or your dev dependencies. It would install all of those.
Yeah. Okay.
But I can't emphasize again how much I really am a fan of Next.js. It does a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that I don't have to worry about. Even though apparently there are now different frameworks that are overtaking it in terms of performance.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I know what I've learned over the course of the last couple of years, and that's what I tend to stick with.
That makes sense.
Hey guys, I'm actually dropping out deliberately. It's not my spotty internet, because every time I come back, I learn something, and you guys have. I fully believe in your ability to have interesting conversations. So,
Thank you.
Just kidding. There's windstorms around here, but so if we look at this Express app, there's this boilerplate code which was generated by, not by AI, but might as well have been, and it is doing some cool stuff I wouldn't have thought to do, like using a cookie parser. I don't know how to do that, but it's setting the path to use for static assets as public. That's pretty standard. Setting a 404 page. And where does create error? Yeah, where does 404 end? I think 404 is just a number, but where's everything imported from? Looks like the Express generator installs cookie
Yeah,
parser.
so this is the old common JS, which
I think because I think
try not
like,
to write.
only because I've been reading so much on Express. I think cookie parser, you don't need cookie parser anymore. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter, but
Yeah, it may not hurt anything, but that's
yeah, no,
interesting.
I don't think it hurts anything. The 404 and then the error handler, that's in the right spot.
Yeah, and if one wanted, TypeScript, I think there are flags. Let's see.
I mean, I'm surprised that it's doing the require. I'm surprised that it's doing common JS.
Okay, so there you can add EJS support. So I'll go ahead and blow this away and try it again. Because actually, I would like ES6 modules.
The hot new thing.
Not even
Well,
new.
it's not even that anymore. I mean, there's a lot of libraries that are coming out. Is it EJ? It's not EJS. It's ESM. ECMAScript modules. ESM.
Yeah, isn't ESM? That's just like ES6, right?
It's a different import
Yeah.
syntax. Instead of the require statements, you have the import blank from
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
But Brian's right. That is ES6. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's ES6.
Is it called ES6? Okay.
That was a question I had. Is so I started off with require, and then I switched to everything to import. I can't remember what problem I was having. So I thought that would solve it. And then when you do that, you have to update your JSON to use like type module or something to handle import. So I did that and ended up switching back to require again. I had a little bug. I was like, it would be safer. I think right now though is most of the websites will support import ES6, right? You're not going to have any.
It depends on the library. Some libraries are only ESM now.
So I think he's saying a web browser, if the client loads code from the server, sorry to interrupt, that is a module and it sees import, the browser will know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I think it does. I think you can use import statements in the browser. And you can import from, I mean, it won't know like your node modules directory. It won't have access to that. But you can do an import from an HTTP endpoint.
Okay, I was just reading it that if you used require, you had older browsers you had more, your website would work on more older browsers as opposed to ES. I don't know how old that was. I was trying to find the most recent article.
Really, I didn't know that I honestly didn't know that browsers could handle require. I didn't know that. I've not.
Yeah, it is a node versus web thing. Like whenever you're writing JavaScript, you can target one or the other. And like when we were looking at Deno and these web runtimes, Node doesn't have window because it thinks it's running on a command line. It's just been the V8 engine ripped out of Google Chrome and put onto and being like a command line runtime. But I think I know what you're talking about. There's, browser support for
Common JS,
import versus require. And if it were to support it, it's basically like treating its own storage as a file system. Like where would it even find the modules when it sees require import? Where does it look?
Yeah.
And, so, I mean, these are all interesting things. If we open up a web inspector now and we were to try, oh no, this may be Safari. My bad. I'm totally ruining this by running the most snooty, you know, incompatible browser that is still decent to use.
Yeah, you won't work. Require won't work on the browser side. Client side.
Oh, but we were talking about like if you load a JavaScript file, a script from the server side, and it contains require or import, will any browsers handle it, or will they know what to do with it? And if so, like where are they resolving these modules from?
Because I mean, you could do, you could try, look up,
browser support for modules.
go to UNPKG unpackage, I think is the name of the site. It just has the contents of node packages unpackaged. So you can, yeah, try
but I don't want the minified version because that's too hard to read. Let me see if I can get like unminified.
well, I was just wanting to see if the import statement worked.
Yeah, that's true. So these are, let me see if any of these.
React is still
Well, there's a UMD and there's a CJS version. So does UMD mean the same thing as like
no, UMD
ESM?
is the same as, no, UMD is Common JS ish. I don't know the exact differences. I use ESM for everything now.
Okay, well, this UMD old style module does not have any requires so far. It looks really big, so it looks like it's built in everything into itself that it might need, so that it never has to require or import anything ever again.
So it's been bundled. Yeah.
That could be.
Go back up to the top level of unpackaged.
Okay.
And then say maybe 3. Look at 3.
I like learning 3.js.
Yeah.
Okay. This one also has no requires and looks super huge.
But are you able to, if you copy that URL,
yeah,
can you do on the command line import 3 from, and then that URL on the command in the
web console?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Oh no, do not mean to load photos, but do not pay attention to any photos. It's not what I wanted to load on a video chat that's being recorded. Import 3 from you, like that?
Yeah, does that work?
What? That's too optimistic. Let's see. It would work in Deno.
No. Import call expects 1 or 2 arguments. Import call expects 1 or 2 arguments.
Is there built-in documentation here?
Does that work? I was going to say, I don't think that that's a thing.
That would be amazing.
Maybe. It'd be nice, but yeah, type import. Does it do a like a completion?
I mean, it does.
It just gives you the keyword though.
It colors it to let you know it's a reserved keyword, but it doesn't even present it as a choice in this dropdown. So it doesn't make it easy for you to use it.
Okay. I think that you could do that. What you have there, I think would work potentially in a file. Like if you had it in a JavaScript file, though I think that the way that would work for that particular one is you would just run that script and it would create a global variable named 3, I think.
Yeah, well, we can try it right now. So in the Express server, bring it back to the Express, yeah. We're trying it all together. I'm going to try and insert a script, originally called script.js, and then so you are positing that something like this might work.
Potentially, yeah, I think so.
Interesting. Let me see.
At least in some in circumstances where you could access something from node modules, you could also access the library using the URL. You can import from a URL, I'm almost certain.
Yeah. Well, here's where Pug is really throwing me off because, you know, it has this nice syntax, but I have like no idea how to import.
What about what's in layout? Where's layout coming from? Maybe layout star.
Oh, it's a
There
it's
it
a
is,
Pug
yeah.
file. Oh, you're right. Here's a link. So, I mean, yeah, we could probably figure this out. It's
It's just a script, and then I guess script paren href, right? Is it href on the script, right? Or is it src?
so it looks like you can have the tag name is first level, and then you can pass in parameters like a function with parameters, named parameters. So you could say, that may not be necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then the script take a.
That was my
href.
question. Is it an href or a source? I think it's an href, isn't it?
I think
I think
it's
it's
source.
Or is it source? Is it source? It might be source. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Duke might know. And then you can serve it from the public directory. So with a slash, that would be JavaScripts. That is, I mean, that's it's grammatically correct. JavaScripts. But I would never say it that way. Okay. And then let's try some no daemon.
So that wasn't already a dependency?
What would I know?
It's go ahead, Duke.
No, you said that you said I would know something. What would I know?
Oh, like whether a script tag takes href or source src attribute. Just because you may have seen it, you may have stared at it more recently than us. Like that's a boilerplate thing that also, you know, AI will save us from.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to figure out how to use. So I had a Node.js routing set up. I have to switch it over to Express, and I had a switch statement. I'm just trying to figure that out. But you guys can keep going.
You could share, yeah, if you want to in a little bit, you could share your screen, because that sounds, you shouldn't have to use, I mean, so you created an API endpoint in Next.js?
No, this is for something completely different. This is just a practice, the routing ability. So I have just some made up HTML pages, and I set up the server on the computer.
npm run, sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
I run Node, and then just go in the browser localhost, and if I, depending on what I put after the slash, I gotta return a specific HTML page. I think I got it figured out without a switch statement, but the 404 page, I don't know how to make that a default. If I'm making sense.
Yeah, we'll switch over and let you screen share as soon as I get the script working, just to satisfy my curiosity about whether browser imports makes sense. So it says that only block and mixins can be at the top level, whatever that means. And then so I'm going to put script inside this top level block. NodeMon maybe is going to pick it up again. Yeah, it looks like it should be. No error.
Well, it might be in the console.
Might be. Yeah, unexpected identifier 3, import call expects.
No, that's from before. Is that the same one?
Yeah. So I mean, we can just even ask, you know,
from HTTP or
what is the import keyword? And now it's getting dark here, which is good, because if it stayed sunny, I would have wanted to go outside and not sit in front of a computer as much. But it's the sad story of our modern times. Okay, import blah from quoted string. Unquoted blah from quoted string. Okay, well, this looks like, how do I know? This looks like it's for JavaScript, but it doesn't say whether it's for the browser or for Node.js. And it's module name, it's not URL. So what?
Well,
This is just talking the difference of using import versus required, isn't it?
I think I would be happy if either one of them worked in the browser, but I don't even know what it would mean because, you know, it has to pull the module from somewhere. So I'm trying to figure out the right this prompt engineering to ask, you know, how do you import a JavaScript module in a browser from a URL? Yes, ES6 import module from URL. So is it possible to do this, which we have seen in Deno, and then it says 2018 update, the module loader spec is now part of ES spec. What you're describing is allowed and possible with script type equals module. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's it. And then
okay.
that's I think it's where your JSON you have to put type module and then it'll work.
Okay. Well, because we are masochists, now we get to translate this reasonable Stack Overflow answer into Pug. So,
Well, wouldn't you just change the text / JavaScript on your script tag
right.
to module?
You're right. Good. Pair programming to the rescue.
And then I think you have to update your NPM. I'm sorry, your JSON package.
Node.
See if no,
Mod,
because this
I
is
think.
only in the browser. The browser doesn't have access to that package.json.
The browser will either support type or not, I think. But you're right. It's
Oh, wait, why did I have to do that?
I mean, some things would require reinstalling MTM dependencies on the back end. So
Hang on, what is it? Importing binding name default cannot be resolved by star export entries.
well, you know, it's a new error. That's success.
So go back to your script. Try well, you could remove you have a duplicate.
Yeah, you're right.
Try import space star as 3.
Like that.
Yeah, see what that does.
Well, NodeMon is liking it. If only that were enough. Oh, there's a warning, but no error. Pretty spiffy.
I think that works. I think that, yeah, I definitely have seen R60.
I mean, that's a 3JS thing.
Yeah,
worked.
see where it says please use ES modules. There's a couple libraries that I'm using that are only ESM, so you don't have any choice with those.
Well, I thought we were using ES modules. What was this?
Well, the 3JS library that you're importing is not. Is apparently not ESM.
So if it's not enough to pull it from the front page of Unpackage, where would I get the latest CDN? What's your favorite way of?
I would expect Unpackage to be the most recent version. Sir, go to
But here I think it's wanting you to use this URL with a bunch of shims and
modules and shim. Imports 3.
I'm gonna try.
I don't know that I'm unfamiliar with that shim.
I don't know that shim.
Yeah. You've got a single quote opening and double quote closing.
That is correct. See, I don't need AI, but this Bullock. DI. Oh, all the warnings are gone.
Huh.
Okay. I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
Oh, Duke said he had to go. Well, maybe we'll catch him later.
That's too bad. I was hoping to look at his problem.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'll tell him. Well, Brian, are you do you want to screen share now? Do you want us to take a look at your Postgres thing? It's okay if not. It's just I thought it might be a good stopping point.
No, I'm good. Just following. I'm learning a lot here.
Yeah. Okay. I'll continue. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what else the library requires except ESM imports. So, we're probably done, but I'll continue reading this anyway. So now we have these dependencies, these dev dependencies, and it's explaining some of them, like cookie parser is to populate the cookies from the request. So this is the server we're writing for. And so then okay, so maybe the client is sending rec, it's being rec is being populated, the request is being populated, and then maybe the cookies are separate, and cookie parser is moving them from HTTP headers into this JavaScript object. That's my interpretation of that.
Yep.
And then there's a tiny node debugging utility. Who doesn't need more debugging? So that's probably just to give nicer outputs or line numbers or something. I haven't used Morgan as a logger before. I use something called Winston. Something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
I keep calling it Churchill, so it must be Winston. And I haven't used Morgan. I'm sure it's great. And then HTTP errors, probably for like 404 error pages. Cool. And then what is www? Application entry point. So this is kickstarts the Express app. So, it requires it because it's in the Stone Age of ES5 requires. It instantiates the app. What's in the app? The app also pulls in, requires Express, instantiates it, and does all the dependencies we just talked about, cookie parser, the logger, and it's instantiating 2 routers.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, I think we're going to map routes to the pages, like the pug templates that are supposed to be loaded for them. I don't know why there's 2 routers, whether you need a different router object for every HTTP route. That's new to me, but we'll keep going. We set the views directory, so where to find pug views. Maybe I'm using the wrong word. Maybe it's not templates, but in pug it's views. So it's the hierarchical markdown-like language we were looking at before. And then we're telling it to use these modules, and somehow Express magically knows, for example, we instantiated this logger, this Morgan logger, and dev mode, so maybe it's more verbose than production mode, and we give it this cookie parser. I don't know how it knows how to use these things, but maybe there's some metadata. And
it's called middleware.
Yeah, that's the middleware, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll take your guys' opinion.
And it's a function that has a certain signature is all that it is. Each one of those is returning I'm pretty sure each of those function calls is returning a function in turn. You skipped around. Oh, okay. Yeah, see, it returns a function.
Okay, I'm just curious how Express queries it to know.
Try arguments.
Not in strict mode.
Because I know that Express knows that you'll notice there's an error handler at the bottom of your Express file, and it's because it takes 4 arguments. 4 arguments is what causes a middleware handler to be an error handler, is that it takes 4 arguments instead of 3. So somehow it knows how many arguments it's getting.
Okay, well, that's the magic of JavaScript arguments.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised. I don't know. It's been a while since I've used that.
Okay, so if you are a middleware component and you get called as a function, then you return another function, which is something that handles request, response, and next, which I'm assuming
Yeah.
chain things. And so maybe it's just registering all these middleware handlers and it's just passing all of them through a chain. And I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but someone, my last research team can fact check this later, but there's a chain, and the order in which you register the middleware components could be the order in which they pass every request and response. Like the request comes into you from the client, it bubbles through all the middleware, and then at some point you generate the response and you send it back out. And maybe next lets each middleware component know or access the next middleware component.
Yeah, I think you're right. It lets it pass control.
Wildly speculative, but I'm satisfied. I'll move on. You can, and then one middleware use is just static path. So I guess like this is like very generic. Everything can be a middleware component, including where to find paths, how to parse cookies. Interesting. So these take in a function, but then here it takes in routes and then the router to register. So I guess these are like sub routers.
Yeah, that would be you create a router folder and you're just routing your views.
Yeah, let me see if I can understand what that. So routes have those, and then these themselves, okay, are routers, and they register routes within them. And then I wonder, like, what if you have conflicting routes? What if one of them tries to register one versus the other?
You override. I think if you define another get slash, that the second instance would be what it uses. You could try it. You could just copy that function.
Oh, they both register slash.
But one's mounted at users.
You're right. So one of them has those are like sub routes. So you're able to nest them or chain them. Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty cool. So up here at the top level, you're guaranteed they will conflict because you give them completely disjoint, like separate namespaces. You register a error handler from that HTTP errors module.
But can you go back to that part we were just at?
Yeah.
So the user router is accessing different routes. And then if you go to your site /users, and then whatever that user route is, user router, it could be multiple like get routes. It would work with that /users, correct? But not with just slash.
No, everything would be mounted under /users.
Under
so if you did like /ID or whatever,
yeah, I think
then
like
it would be users /ID or /users /name or whatever.
Yeah, like if you registered something at /ABC at this point, then this sub router would mount it at /users /ABC, like Despulik was saying.
Okay.
And it just saves you from typing the 5 letters of users or 6 letters of /users at the beginning of all these routes. Okay. And it makes it more modular. You could remount /users to something like /Brian or /Despulik, and then all of your routes get updated and you don't have to do a bunch of typing. So
if you had a version for like an API, version 1, version 2, something like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People have that all the time. Like the first route in most of these APIs is which version number. Yeah, you see that all over the place.
Right.
Except in GraphQL. I'm sure GraphQL is a much better way of handling that.
No, actually, a lot of the times it'll be the GraphQL endpoint. I mean, it's only one single endpoint again, but a lot of times it'll be prefaced with a /v1 /v2, whatever. Because the GraphQL, the system backing that endpoint can change.
Oh, it's true. So the old ways are the best. They haven't been able to improve on that part yet. Or URLs are pretty hard to improve on. They're pretty good. Okay, register the error handler, and interestingly, we could probably create error handlers for all the other HTTP codes, result codes too, like 500 or you know, there's standard ones like 403 access forbidden, 301 permanently moved. The other greatest hits I don't remember right now. Okay, and then so you're basically like writing your own middleware component as an anonymous function here. That's pretty cool. And it is taking 4 components, like Disbulak said, which instead of just request, response, and next, you give it a possible error. So that could be undefined. But if we looked in the code, we probably see some ugly checking where we're saying like, if arguments.length is 4, then treat the first one as error. Otherwise, if arguments.length is 3, then treat the first one as request. That's probably in there. The response has this member called locals that, okay, so you get a response object back. It's probably the one that's being passed from middleware component to middleware component, and you can add a message and error to it, depending on the environment, like whether it's verbose or not. And then you render the page. Make sure I'm still sharing on. Yeah, sorry, Sue, you can't hear us because we're on Zoom, but I'll share my screen so you can see the same thing we're seeing. If you care, you're free to work on your own stuff too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have sound, I don't know if she can hear me, but she might have the same sound issues that I was having.
Yeah, I don't think I can stream to Zoom and Discord, but I think if I share my screen in Discord and you click watch stream, if you want, you can just like leave it on in the background, and then when we're done with Zoom, I'll come back to the Discord voice channel, and if you're around, I'll say hi.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So why do you guys do Zoom instead of Discord?
I was just wondering that.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people from the meetup are used to Zoom and like it, and before, you know, we used to have meetups with like 30 people would show up on Zoom, like people around the world, like these brothers from Nigeria, this man from Netherlands. And I was like, wow, people really like Zoom. And then, you know, I switched over to Discord because I thought, you know, it would be okay. And a lot of people did sign up and install, but they would only do it for this meetup, which I was flattered by, but you know, I could tell that it was a big learning curve. So I'm going back to Zoom just for tonight to see if we got like a bigger response, but then Brian also signed up for Discord, which I appreciate. Yeah. So we'll ask him later whether he prefers Zoom or Discord, and you know, in the future we'll do some Zoom only maybe and some Discord only.
I can switch now, whatever you guys want, but if it's easier for me to just do Zoom or Discord.
Yeah, Zoom also makes it easy to record. Sorry to interrupt. So like we can post a video of this later, and Discord doesn't have a nice way of automatically doing that just yet.
No, though I'm recording using OBS, which I get additional programs. Like if anything else is running on my desktop, I also get that. Though I think I can limit OBS to just a single window.
Yeah. Well, if everyone ever, you know, is a video chat with this man, Disbulak, just be aware that everything is being recorded and may be revealed at a later date or may not be revealed at a later date.
Well, it would undergo a vetting process before anything was revealed.
That's right. You have to make sure it surpasses a certain threshold of scandal. If it's not scandalous enough, don't worry, your video is safe. It's never going to be revealed. Yeah.
Then I've definitely got quite a few API keys in these various recordings.
You revealed them or you got them? Oh, go ahead.
I actually recorded them, and I've revealed a couple of my own. I know.
Okay.
What happens to the people that was in the old channel, old server?
I mean, some of them are still there. Some of them haven't checked in a while. You know, people, if you look at your own Discord server, you know, like me, I'm a chronic joiner. I'm sad to say. So I probably have like 20 Discord servers, and how many of them do I regularly check in? Like very few. So that actually helped me not take it personally whenever like people, if someone responds at all to our server, I'm like, you know, hooray, it was worth them checking in out of the 20 servers they're probably a member of.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah. Sue's thinking like an admin now because she's an admin and the Spoolik's an admin. And not that we want more members at all costs, but you know, if you know members who would enjoy geekery like this, you know, please invite them.
To some reason, I feel before there were more people in the Monday night session compared to now. So I'm just wondering, where did other people go?
You know, I mean, people are busy people. If anyone decides to spend their Monday night with me, you know, I'm honored. But you know, it's warmer now. Someone could live like on a beach, and they could just be like deciding they want to walk on the beach on Mondays. So, yeah, that's all. But what they're missing out because they're not looking through a pug file at Monday night. The sun's setting anyway, but oh, don't remind me that right now is the perfect time to watch sunset. So routers, subrouters, cool deal. And then we can render, and the way we render is on the response. So res is a response object, and then we can give it an object of attributes. This object is probably like t-value pairs of all the HTML attributes. Well, that's a good question. Somehow Express or Pug knows how to handle, I'm going to guess it's Pug knows how to handle this map of attributes.
Yeah,
And,
that's what I'm doing. I'm just passing all my data through the render.
okay.
And
And so
then
then if you have a Pug layout like this, and you render H1, and I don't know what the equals tag means. Maybe we'll figure it out. But if you put attributes after it, it looks like it's going to substitute. And a good way to check is,
Yeah, it interprets it as code. I think if you do title equals in a string, it would interpret that as a string and would print that out.
oh, I didn't do what I wanted. I didn't do what I expected it to. So sorry.
It did. It changed the title.
Oh, it
What
did.
did you expect it to do?
Oh, this up here. I was looking at the subtitle. You're right. That's something different. This here says welcome to Express, but if I want to, yeah, so this pound sign title in Pug, where is this title being pulled from? Is it the title from up here? Is it a scope in Pug, like where programming?
No, if you go to the index route.
yeah, it pulls from the context, right?
Ooh, interesting.
And,
So you can register variables. So that means once you bind them, when you register the route, that's it. You can't change them later, unless you remap and the user refreshes. So if I change this to Express, now with friendship. Okay, so that's a variable that you bind at register time of the route, and then that updates both this H1 and welcome to, and then what we were looking at before was in the app, and it was a page title. So some things are set in the response with the page title, and then some are set when you register the route. Seems like a potential, listen up, Express designers. It seems like a potential for confusion and using one when you meant to use the other. What was I looking at before? That was it was here. Router in the router. Page title. This is the router. And this is still Express with friends. If I refresh, page title is still Express with friends.
You changed it to a static string in your layout.pug.
Did I? Did I know? This is the Pug.
but
So-
layout.pug.
Oh. So what is the difference between a layout and a view?
Well, it's just that extends layout. You'll see it includes the block content.
Oh, I see. So these layouts are like classes, and you can extend them and modify them. So
Mhm.
this is saying the index.pug view is instantiating this layout, this layout, and then it can modify it further.
Well, that block content, the inside of the body at the very bottom of the layout.pug,
Mhm.
that's that name corresponds to the name in index.pug. The name of the block. So
Yeah,
it looks for a block named content.
interesting.
Yeah, that should not do anything or break.
Unexpected block content. So is content a name, or is it a
Yeah,
key?
no, that should work.
Spool it, always right. Always blue, always blue. Okay. I'm good with this. Let's just continue. Challenge yourself. You should register a new route to display the text "You're so cool" at /users/cool. I accept.
Have you guys ever heard of fusion charts before?
No, I'm always interested in new things. I know Fusion 360, and is Fusion text related to that, or is it a
Fusion
database thing, or
charts?
what is it?
Yeah,
Charts
fusion
or
charts.
text?
Fusion charts. Okay, misheard that.
That was maybe I could show something. I do have a question on that, and I've only read a little bit on it.
Yeah.
Just
Let's
trying to figure out how to, like,
yeah, share your screen on Zoom. Let's take a look at it. Is it open source?
yeah. Is it open source?
Just get a license. Not looking good, but I'm
No,
kidding. Probably if they charge for it, it's probably pretty polished.
Yeah, I've got a free API that I got when I took over this, trying to help on this.
Ooh, okay. Just look, make sure your screen's recording. We're gonna grab the API key from Brian.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a spike of API calls later tonight. You might get a break when Dispuluk scrapes SVG art from
Yeah, from Beck to Easy.
back to
Yeah,
easy.
I did. It's been running. I got like 1,000 images. It took 5 days.
You gotta
but
turn on
I
the screen share.
got my images.
Oh, my bad. Let me change that option. Try again, please.
Let's do this one. Yeah. So this is. Oh, you know what? I forgot I was playing around with things. I have to switch it up.
Tasty numbers.
What's that?
I like
Yeah,
the
so I got a
numbers.
lot of fun
Yeah,
with it.
yeah,
I actually, because I was testing it, connecting it to the database. I just have it dummied in right now,
Mhm.
and basically, this is what it reads. It just has to be like a 2D array of data. I wish I could show how it works, but actually I can.
It's a list of lists.
Yep. And so where is it? So my question is this is how they want it to be referenced? As a data.json file.
Okay.
And what I was wondering is, and it has to, in the documentation, it says, again, quickly reading it, maybe it's different. what I was wondering is if I can just pass, I want to have all my data passed to this route when I render the Google Maps API for the marker, the info windows and everything. I just want it to be all done in one, and that's what I'm working on over here, actually, this big long file. This is all stuff that's coming from my database. But what I want to do is I just want to have this get passed in the context. So what we were just talking about with Pug. So if I pull up
So do you want the server to pull that big data JSON from a database?
Yeah, I would just,
the client hits a route. Okay.
Yeah, what I would do is I've got the, in Postgres, I have the function to pull it all together. I was going to just use a query to pull it all together. And that's what I'm doing. Hold on 1 second. Where did I put that? I just tested this out to see if I could do a function with Postgres, and it worked. And then here, right now it's not working, but this is what I want to do is this is what would be my request to get all the information. Is this I'm just calling this function right here in this query, and it's just returning an empty object, so I'm not getting the data, but essentially it's going to have all of this right here as part of it. I just have it as an object. It's just going to be a 2D array, and I'll just reference it, blah blah blah, whatever .tart object. My question is do you think I can just replace that, get rid of this, and use it to load the data in here? I don't know if you probably don't know the answer to that without knowing Fusion charts, or if I'm asking that correctly.
Well, I mean, I guess if I can restate to see if I understand it, you want to pull that big block of data, JSON, that 2D array from a database, and then return it to an API call that's going to render Fusion charts. Is that right?
Yeah, when this fires, when my get route. So down here, so instead of just being ID first name, it's going to have all of the data that I need in there. So just like we did with Pug, where you're passing it in that context, it's gonna be the same thing here. So when the user dashboard gets rendered, it is going to this function will fire. This is from the Google Maps API. It's init map. So this event is gonna trigger, and this pulls all the markers, and that data that I'm gonna get from the database has all the info windows, the name, and it grabs it by ID, and that all works. I have that connected together, and it has an event listener. So when you click on the markers, but then it's also going to feed this Fusion charts. So at that point in time, this is where in the documentation it said, hey, you just need to reference a file called data.json, which is going to have, and whether the user selects they want 3 days worth of data or 5 days or 5 months, I have to return that to them. And
yeah, so, well, I mean, before you go further, I think I basically understand what you're getting at. So you have these two asynchronous data loading, which is like from files. And if you want to load it from a database instead, you would just replace the load data with, a promise that resolves to the results of the Postgres query. And then when you call then, you chain a thenable onto the end of it, and then resource, that's a two tuple where it has, res index 0, res index 1, that you're separating them out, and then feeding that into your Fusion charts call later. But yeah, I think what you're getting at is that you want to replace one of the load data with data from a Postgres query.
yeah,
And since you're using promise.all, and probably it's going to be slow, like probably the Postgres library you're using, like PG promise is the library I was looking at. Built into its name is that, it has promises because everything is so slow. So then, yeah, you replace the load data part with that. Go ahead, Dispuli.
It's not necessarily really slow. It's just that it's asynchronous. It's that it will take more than milliseconds is all that is the reason for using a promise.
For an Android, that is a very long time.
It
But-
could be a really long time. It's possibly a really long time, but it's not just saying it's not necessarily a really long time. You could write on line 111. You can write then open bracket, data, comma, schema, close bracket.
On here.
Are you familiar with destructuring? Yeah, then open bracket. Yeah, try this real quick. Change RES to open bracket.
Curly brace. Yeah.
Nope. I meant open bracket.
Oh,
It's an
yeah,
array.
right.
You're
Sorry, it's an array.
destructuring an array.
My bad.
Oh, open bracket. No, it's curly.
Data, comma, schema.
What's that?
Data, comma, schema.
Okay.
And then close bracket. And then remove res. And then you can remove lines 112 and 113.
Nice.
That should work. It's called
Okay.
destructuring. That was just a slight thing. Also, one other really quick thing, where you have the 0 plus get seconds dot slice -2, there is a pad left, or no, there's a pad start and pad end method.
Okay. So this
But
one.
I'm not worried about that. That's just, yeah, you could definitely have done it that way as well.
Yeah,
You
no, this one actually I didn't even do this piece. This is what I took over, and I just had to kind of piece it together in the last couple of days.
Okay.
So I'm just literally just I just figured out most of it and understand what everything is kind of doing. I had to do some quick fixes to get it working. It was just.
So are you reading the data into the database already? Does the database already have this data in it?
Well, that's going to be that's what's going to be coming from Church Stack. It's the frequency data coming from the nests out in the fields.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to come into Postgres, and then that's where I'm going to be pulling the data from. But I don't have all of that figured out yet.
I mean, we could work on that if you want to do that real quick. So how do you, is it a webhook? How do you know when there's new data?
Well, every minute there's going to be a feed coming in through for each device that's connected.
Is it a webhook?
No, it's
just added to a file somewhere.
That's coming through Church Stack. You could look it up. I just started.
Chirp?
Yeah,
You're saying
Church
Chirp?
Stack, it's an open source network for low range frequency. I can throw it in the comments.
Chirp Stack, low WAN
Yeah.
network server.
Yeah, that I want to still get my arms around to understand it more before I start diving in, because I'm not going to do it. I'm horrible at explaining things anyways.
You're doing all right so far. Is this Church Stack? Is this really a stack for Catholic church management?
No, it's
It's a different church. Okay.
That's a different
Chirp, not church.
Oh, Chirp. Okay.
Chirpstack.io is the site. gRPC.
Yeah, it's Google's it's like protocol wrapper. Like I think it's like their distributed protocol wrapper. So it does things like lets you broadcast to like a bunch of endpoints, like retries if it fails. I guess, yeah, basically Google goodness on top of like an RPC.
But I mean, do you get an
facility.
event in your code? I'm just trying to figure out how you know how does new data arrive?
I think you have to subscribe and listen to it. Oh yeah, go ahead, Brian. You're the one who's actually doing this. So
no, you guys can go on. So right now, I have not really dove into the Chirp Stack piece, but when they spun it up with a Linux server, I think they use like Raspberry Pi. The documentation was pretty long. I still got to read through it again. But basically, the Chirp Stack is just when they spun it up, it just has this Postgres database connected with it, and it's
already in the database.
Yeah, so Chirp Stack, when it's hooked up to the devices, right now they have it set up for every minute. It's going to send a signal. It's going to send some data for a particular device EUI. That's going to be the camera name, and it's sending some package of information, and that gets sent into a device up table, and that's constantly being fed. And then that's where I want to take that data and start to just put it in its own table. Back to where we talked earlier. That's how I was starting to think, is I just want to put it all in its own table and have all that data coming in there every minute. And then that's the tables that I'll query when a user.
Do you have the code that's creating those tables and doing the insert?
No, I have not done that yet. I'm just at this point right now, I'm just dummying the data from, I just took the, I have to convert everything that's in the, it's called a device up table. And I have to convert it to readable data in the tables. And I just did that for 3 days worth of data. And then I just at the point where I just started saying, hey, how would this work statically? And I'm just doing what I call it 4 nests. That's what you see Doug. I just have Doug as a user and he has 4 nests. And I'm just reading static data right now.
So for your charting, can you have more than in your data for your charting? Can you have more than one time series? Like, can you have multiple data sets in that single data object? Like, can you have, like, if I don't know exactly what can you show me your data one more time?
Yeah, hold on a second. The easiest to read this one, I think. Yeah, this is just going to be it's going to be a timestamp, and then it's going to be barometer, humidity, temp, light, and motion.
Okay.
And then I'm going to have images. So when you're viewing this will be a chart. This will all be charts. When you scroll over it, that's what this code is doing down here.
Okay.
That's handling that, and then it'll also be rendering the images. So every 2 hours, I'll have enough bits of data to parse together an image, and then that's what I'm showing in as part of the image on the website.
And so so if you had multiple barometers, can you, in the data object that you're sending to your charting library, can you have multiple barometers in that?
No, I'm only going to have one barometer for that one nest.
So one, okay, so it'll be, each chart is one thing, one data set.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's what I don't know is like, what's the best way to do that? Is if it's to just feed even a Fusion target, or do I just save, like when a user logs in, do I just create a file that's on the server side called this is what I was playing around with, just some type of a way to just say, okay, hey, a user logged in, here's all their images. So I know I need to do that already. So when an active user, I want to serve the images server side when that user's accessing that information, so it can show it as they scroll through the dates. And then what I wasn't sure on was the best way to do this this 2-day array of data. If it's, and so
that's what you give to your chart library, is that 2-dimensional array.
Yeah, this right here. Sorry. This is right here. So right now, how I have it set up is it's just saying this folder will be a name, and if it's Doug 1, Doug 2, Jenny 3, it's if I add it, just the code right now is set up to just update this public folder, the static folder, and that's how this will get updated. But I don't know if that's the right way to do it. Is I'm creating a file every time someone wants data. So they say, oh, hey, I want to.
No, I mean, you should be pulling your data from the database.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. But do I want to just save it to a file?
No, I mean, why not just, you're creating a 2-dimensional array. Why not just create a 2-dimensional array from the database?
Yes. So that's what I have right now. So that's what I'm doing. So that's what I was kind of trying to get to say. Is that the best way to do it?
Yes.
Okay. So where in my ugly data do I have that? It might be actually there. Yeah, this is it right here. So this is from the database. From earlier when I had it working. So it would be right here. So this right here is all of this.
Okay.
And then this is what's going to get passed in the context. So user data story. Oh yeah, that is it. Yeah. So this is that. Oh, I was looking for my get row, sorry. Yeah. This is then all that'll come right into here. So this is what I still need to work on. Right now, I just have it called data object results.rows. This is what I get from this query.
Okay. Hang on. Yeah. Let's I want to look at that real quick.
So right here, this is PG. So this is the function that I created. I just got that done today.
Hang on. Function generate device data JSON.
That's this one right here.
So you're generating the JSON. You're using Postgres to generate the JSON.
Yep. So this is the function. And then this is I passed it the user ID for the logged in user.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ignore this. This is just for a test to make sure that it was working at a simple level. And then this is when that data would come in, and then this is where I pass it. So right now I have to always pass user ID and first name, or else my partials will for my nav bar will cause an error. But I'll have that in the data that I pass. So once I get this working, then I have that charts data right down here. This is how it'll come through, and I'll just it'll be able to read that chart data. So that's what I'm wondering is if it works. I don't know if it will. I can pass it then here. So it's going to get that data as opposed to having a file like I do right now.
Yes, except for the fact you're generating a JSON object and you need a two-dimensional array. But I would not do I would just pull like primitive types from the database.
Well, hold on one second. So this is I did create this in the this is a 2D array.
Okay, so that is, and that's the JSON that's being returned by the Postgres function.
Yes, correct. I made it a 2D array. So when you access this chart data, so user devices, 0 will be the first one. And then chart data will give you all of this array data. 2D array.
Okay.
So that's what then I would just update to add here. So I guess my question then is that definitely the best way to do it then, as opposed to referencing it to a file?
Yes, there's no there's no reason to write to a file, and that just adds a layer of serialization. It just adds complexity and doesn't really give you anything.
Okay. Yeah.
You can go straight from the database into the chart.
Yeah, and that's just I guess I got to do more research. But the way I was initially reading where is it? Which one is it?
Oh, I thought my internet cut out again. You were just dramatic pause.
Yeah. Getting started. It's pretty nice. The charts out of the box are pretty easy to get going. Granted, I did take it over, so it wasn't getting the first chart.
Yeah, so why don't you go to your code real quick where you have the load data function?
Yeah.
So do on line 107, put a new line after 107
Yeah.
and do, I think you could either do an async function or you can do new promise. A new line, put a new line after 107.
I'm fine with playing with it around. I just wanted to get just kind of show it to you guys and just get some advice or just. Your
I mean,
thoughts.
we could try to fix it. I mean, if you want to just fix it, or you can do it on your own later, and it'll probably take a lot longer. But it's up to you.
Oh, I kind of like to give it a try just because I'm still very new.
Okay.
To it.
Well,
Yeah.
you create a promise. You'll create a promise that returns that chart data element from your selected. From your select.
Yeah, so okay, so yeah, I just got to get this part working first then, just in getting it from just in the get request. It's not coming over right now. I can show you what there's my latest there. Yeah, so this is what I'm getting right now. So here I just basically say, hey, did the query work? Yeah. But this is what it returns the function name, and then it has the user ID as null, which so I know it's working, and then the user device data is empty. So I just gotta figure out what's going on with this piece. So that's just basically right now for me. It's no, let's get out. I just got to figure this out, why this isn't working.
So what is results? If you just print out results.
Results is.
Can you JSON stringify results? Caps, all caps, JSON. And you verified that, so the Postgres function works as expected.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on one second. I just gotta log in.
Okay.
So the error, I understand the error. Oh wait, here, yeah, I did come back. Hold on.
Built-ins. Yeah, I mean, it's saying that, and is data in your database.
Yep. Yeah. So if I go to Postgres and I run the function, where am I here? So this is the only one I got set up. So it is coming over. Right. And then this is where I created just the dumb function right here. So it just returns user ID and a first name. I just wanted to test that I was getting it. So that's what I did. That's what's uncommon here. And this works. So if I run this, just to test it out, that it's not something to do with me, how I'm accessing that function. Because I didn't find a lot of documentation on it. I just got to figure out why this is what it is. I don't think I need to use stringify.
Well, it won't print out the contents of, it'll print out just array. If you just printed out results, it would just have array, object array, rather than the contents of the array. You could remove the stringify and you could see it. It won't, it only goes down one level in the object when you, yeah, I was wondering about that data. You have data dot whatever, which it's data obj, right?
Oh yeah. Again, I was testing things. This is gonna error no matter what I do, but no. Earlier, what was I doing? I had data. I want to say I got no, I never got the ID. The only thing I got back was when I used user ID, I got null. So at one point I just had this being data.
Yeah, I mean, is it using user ID to look up which data to return?
Yeah, that's the
So
query.
if you don't specify user ID, are you specifying user ID somewhere?
Yeah, I do. It's up here. So this is my
Oh, $1.
yeah, right there. So this $sign is just basically up here. User profile ID, I pass it.
And that's set to the correct value?
Yeah, this is 30, so I printed it out down here. Yeah, right here. So
Because user ID shouldn't be null then, should it? User ID should be 30.
exactly, but so here's where I'm passing it. So this is the user dashboard ID is 30. And that's what I need. So if I go back to Postgres, that's how I've got it set up right now. That's the only one
But is it a string? Are you try putting number around the go back to the code real quick. Try on line 38, put capital inside the bracket, put capital number.
Here, 38.
Yeah. Inside the bracket.
Yeah.
Just capital, not all caps, but just capital number.
Capital N, lowercase everything else, number.
Yeah. And then open paren, and then put the user profile ID in parens.
Where does the $1 come from again?
It's the first element in the array, I am assuming.
Okay, so that's SQL and understands what to.
Well, it's I'm assuming that's how the Postgres library works.
Postgres just said that's the convention is $signs 1, 2, 3, whatever you have.
Okay.
I can try that. Oh no, wait, hold on a second. This did actually return something different.
See how it just says object instead of the contents of the object? That's why I was having you stringify the result, because it only goes down so deep before it just says this is an object. It doesn't print out the contents of it.
Yeah, so if I do, actually, I think you figured it out.
Yeah, type coercion is definitely an issue in general.
Yeah, it didn't work. It needs to be it caused an error.
That caused an error?
Yeah, it went.
What was the error?
Not a number.
Not a number. I don't think that user profile ID should not come out as not a number if it's a valid number.
Can you print out what you're getting? Because it may.
No, what? Hold on one second. I think you guys got it fixed actually.
Oh, okay.
Let me go back to. So. Results. That's what I want right there, right there. So that's row results. Yeah, so this is what I want, results.rows.
And that's why we can't read it because that's what the reason for the stringify was so that it would display what is in that object.
Okay.
But do a JSON.stringify and then results, comma, null, comma, 2.
Results, what?
Comma, null, comma, 2. The number 2. Lowercase null. Yeah, that just pretty prints it. That'll cause it to print on separate lines rather than as one giant blob. But I don't think your user ID is a valid number. It shouldn't have said NAN.
Oh, that's the same thing.
Yeah, but try put number one more time. Put or just do a real quick before query. Print out the user profile ID. Or hang on, you're destructuring on line 35. You're saying that rec.user.user ID is a object with a user profile ID attribute.
Okay, yeah. So what if I just do this?
So you should take off the braces, or you could just use that directly. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why don't I just do this? I just took this from the site. I didn't even think because I'm not doing that here, am I? Yeah, that's a mistake on my part.
No, I mean there's lots of little details.
No, when I was trying to do the simple test, I should have did it identical. When I was doing this, and that I didn't do it this way.
Hmm.
Actually, that's it.
There you go.
Nice.
Lots and lots of data.
Yeah, that's well, so that's the other thing is so when I get more into this, I'd love to pick one of you guys' brains on this because this is only like I think like it's like 2 days.
You said every minute?
Yeah, so every minute you have data coming in.
Yeah, there's a lot of minutes in 2 days.
Yeah, you have the same amount of minutes where you live that I do. Yeah, so I got to figure out how to handle that. Because that's the other thing I don't, and it's really undefined now. You got a handful of PhDs. The one guy is actually hardware from he worked for Microsoft for a long time. So he actually has a lot of technical knowledge.
It looks like you finished. It says data not defined, line 73.
What's that?
Yeah, that's where it was data OBJ rather than data.
Yeah, yeah. So I just got to fix that. That's perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So then now I can just feed that in there, and then that'll feed all my charts.
Yep.
So these birds, are they part of a study?
Well, it could be anything. I'll show you. This is the other how I got started with this was doing something in Excel for the machine learning piece of it. Let's see if I can find it. I'll show you this. She does really good work. This should be her side job doing production videos. Let's see. It could be anything. It could be fish, bees pollinating.
But this is like real data, like it's being taken from Nest.
Yeah, this is from a Nest in Montana.
Let me see the original Nest camera. So
yeah, yep, it's the original. So I'll show you.
You don't have to if it's too much to dig up. I was just curious. It seems like research code, like for some zoologist research.
Yep. Let's see if
Ooh, okay. Fish in a trough.
Yep, yeah, so this is just, basically, this is the LiDAR, this is the camera, is this just the image? So this is the camera that's reading it, so when that camera's out in the field, it's recording this. And then when it changes colors, that was the fish right there, I don't know if you saw it, but that was it swimming by.
Oh.
And then this is just in the this is just right now. This is I guess getting the machine learning portion of it ready.
Oh,
And
very
if you
cool.
look back there, you see all the red. The colors is just basically detecting the, and then you saw it. That's when it changes. That's when it swims by.
Okay.
Wow, you have a whole fish robot just to test the computer vision.
Yeah, there's Skippy, the ladybug. There's a whole bunch of them.
Wow.
But yeah, she built all these, and then this is the piece that I did in Excel. It looks pretty simple, but it got actually kind of complex. But this is the reading in Excel, and I just basically take all the data from up here. So this piece of software, I take that, I import it, and I do a bunch with it, and then basically I create these. So this right here, that's the fish swimming by. That's how you're detecting it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't look simple at all. No, it's a pretty rich, beefy problem.
I'm still impressed.
So
with
do you have control over the data? How the data is written, like coming from these sensors and going into the database?
It's yeah, so that's Doug, the owner of the company. He's the hardware guy. Yes, he's controlling all that. He's writing all that software to do that and how that comes in.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you could, if the data has not changed, you could just not write that minute. But it looks like they're changing. It looks like every minute the numbers are changing slightly. So that wouldn't even work.
Actually, it's that. So it brings up another interesting thing. Is so about every I get a sliver of the image, just because there's very limited space that we can send with this frequency. So you have all this data. So I'm getting all of the like I'll get all the chart data, and then every 2 hours I think how we ended up deciding was I'm gonna get the latitude and longitude. But technically it's not like this is like the nest is moving. You know, the camera is going to be in one spot. It's going to be in one spot. So there's a whole concept of a redeployment number, but yeah, so all that data, and then as the images, the slivers of that image come in every 2 hours, and in Postgres, I'm going to have to splice them back together to create an image, and then those images I have to, which I don't know how I'm going to handle yet. I have to serve them in the public folder, and that's what I was kind of representing here.
Well, I mean,
so it'd be like this right here. Nope, it wouldn't be that one. It'd be this one. Sorry, this folder. Right now, this is how Fusion Charts is saying they need it. I have to have the files in a particular format with this particular naming convention. So it has to be just like this. And then I'm going to have an image, and I don't know how which images I'm going to throw on it, but as soon as I get a complete image, I'm going to have a particular name, and then this is what gets loaded in there. So if I'm giving X number of this data for the charts, chart data, then I'm going to have X number of images. And like I said, I only get enough data every 2 hours to create one image.
okay.
And that's what I'm pretty confident it's going to be more cost efficient to serve that just as hardware space and just to save images on here, and then just have them saved by user. And then that way, when they want to view their nest, they'll have all of this, they'll have access to all this chart data, which will display the chart data, and then they'll have the images. So as they scroll over and view their the sensory data, the images will change as well.
Yeah, I mean, you could have an API. You could have an API endpoint, have like /images/ and then create that file name. Then when you get that file name, you parse it. I'm assuming that it describes a particular camera.
This is actually, it's more, yeah, this is the device UIA, the UIA in there, and then it's just, this is just the timestamp of it. So I think it's like year, month, and then it goes into seconds, hour, seconds.
So you could just parse that and then look up the appropriate, well, in your case, the appropriate table, and go from that timestamp and then go forward however many minutes you need to go in order to have a full image, and then just stream out the results of the parts of that image.
Well, it would just
rather than writing them into files. Either way works.
No, because I would just be getting little bits and pieces of it, and that's another question, is like, where do I want to save that bits and pieces? Every minute I'm gonna get a little bit of an image. And
I thought they were getting written to the database already.
So every minute I'm gonna if it's this particular nest, I'm just in this particular image, I'm only gonna get a sliver of it.
Yeah.
And then after about 2 hours, that's
Mhm.
when I'll have enough to put that image back together.
Yeah.
And then
Can you open that
I
image
would-
again, just to remind us, what is it, a whole nest, or is it just like a tile?
Those are entire, that's a reconstructed image there, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you only get like a tile of this whole nest image, and then every 2 hours you produce this one of these.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you're writing that to a database, or you're dumping it to a file, or what?
Well, it's coming from a database. I thought the
Oh.
workflow was camera to database.
Correct.
Okay.
And then I'm going to uncompress it, and it's going to get saved to another table from my main chirp stack database table, and then that's where all of the cameras go right into one table. That's through chirp stack, and then I need to pull it apart and put in. That's why I was doing different tables, and then I was actually going to even thinking about every time I get an image. A piece of an image, I was going to save that to what I call like a partial table. And once I get that complete image, then I would just get rid of those partials and just create the image and save it to the hard drive. So it would be by user and by nest. So now that I have all their images, and then I clear that table, and then every 2 hours I'm reconstructing that image, saving it, and then just flushing that table.
What if I mean, that'll work, but what if you wrote it into its final destination, but like one tile at a time, and then you had another field which told you whether you were done with the image or not? And so you don't have to copy, you don't have to like flush another table. You're just writing it directly into its final destination, but you're keeping track of whether it's finished.
What do you mean?
Well, like you keep track of the whole image. It's just some of the tiles are going to be like blank because you haven't written them yet. And then you have some way of keeping track, like a bitmap telling you which tiles you've already received. And then when you've received all the tiles, you mark the image as done. But you're always writing these tiles as they come into the file, into the final table row where the image is going to go. So it'd be less like reading and writing and deleting. But I mean, the way you were describing before would work too. If you have a temporary table and you're just writing all the tiles as individual rows, and then you you have to record, the X and Y of the tile, and then, you're gonna have to keep track of when you're done with the image anyway.
Yeah, so right now the thought is, and this is the last round, was that just again, it has to come down, it comes down to memory, how much they can send. So for a 2-hour period, I'm not going to get any latitude and longitude. And so we can use that to give more space for the images to come through. And then when the latitude and longitude is sent, that means the image was completed. So then I know at that time that that's my flag. And then that's when I just create a trigger in Postgres to say, hey, you can reconstruct the image now run this function to do that and save that image someplace. That's why I was doing this thinking of doing the separate table.
Sure. Well, I mean, it'll work for sure. It's just, you could be thinking of a more efficient way in terms of like feasibility.
What I was suggesting is that just leave the data in its original table, and it's streaming data. You can simply you can get a pipe essentially, and you just do a select of from the timestamp from your first timestamp until however many rows you need, and then you iterate over that result and you stream out each little chunk of the image. You just I think it's res.write if I'm reading the Express documentation correctly.
Res.write.
The response.
Yeah.
Well, the response contains like a bunch of HTTP header data as well as the body, but the body could be
the write function writes to is the body, is the content of the response.
Okay, sure. If the write function is from the body, then and you're saying that you're building up the image in the response.
You would you would have your list of rows. You would select the appropriate set of rows and then iterate over the rows and then just res.write each of those rows image data in turn and have no intermediary anything.
Yeah, it's hard for me to visualize, but the system is so complex. I'd recommend having a system architecture diagram, like show where the data is coming in and then like your API endpoints and like what's hitting the endpoints. And you may already have something like that. So
yeah, I started that up.
Okay,
but it's not complete yet, and
that's okay.
It's a lot like my folders, really messy right now. I need to clean them up.
Yeah. Well, as long as you've started. Yeah, I don't always document things nicely either, even though it would help.
Yeah.
Move it along.
I've got a lot of it documented. It's just not cleaned up yet. I like to try to keep it documented, but they wanted me to try to get something stood up really fast just for show and tell. They have some people that want to look at it already for customers. So
cool.
That's what I'm trying to do right now. Is just get a quick stand up, and I'm almost there. It's not fully functional, but they'll be able to see one nest and one customer, and I've got the Google Map API working and the info windows and all that. It's good enough for right now. I just want to get this last little piece before it's try to launch it. Again, just like really early, but I have for full production, I have a lot more to work on it.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to have a customer. I think other people are talking about like startups and like working on their product forever. But if you have a customer telling you what they want, that's
yeah, they have a whole slew of them. Yeah.
What's the next step for this one? You said you still had a little bit to do.
Yeah, so what I want to do is I just want to prove that I can query the database now for the one nest, which you guys helped solve for me already. So now I just need to pull that through. So I just got to reconnect it, and I will get all this data. I just got to change it up because now let's see.
So does the JSON generating function take a time span?
There's the JSON. Sorry, ask that again.
That chart data, the function that's the Postgres function that's generating that chart data object,
Oh, yeah.
does it take a beginning and ending time? How do you time limit? How do you limit how much data
Well,
you're going to
I
send?
have the timestamps in the data from the camera.
Yeah, but how do you limit? Like, let's say you don't want to return every bit of data every time. How are you handling that?
I don't fully understand the question.
Like, let's say I only want Tuesday's data, like last Tuesday. I don't want the entirety of all the data that's ever been recorded.
Yeah, so right now I'm just going with 3 days worth of data. I don't have that piece figured out yet. That's for the business owners to, we got to come up with what that's going to look like. Is it, and what I don't know yet is it going to be like the user can select a data range, and then that's what I'm going to query the database on. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
I mean, that's the one disadvantage to doing your data construction in Postgres is everything that all the parameters and stuff that you want to specify, you're going to have to pass into Postgres and then have Postgres deal with.
Okay, what would be a different approach then?
You would just select from the whatever table has these data elements in it. You would select from that table and then construct your object in JavaScript rather than in Postgres. So you iterate over the rows and you do a map. It's the map. Are you familiar with the map function on an array?
Yep.
So you would do a map of whatever the return rows are. And for each row, you would construct your little array like that and then return that. And the result of that map would be your data.
So you're talking just about this chart data piece then?
Yeah. Well, just in general, whether or not how much of the work to do in Postgres as opposed to how much of it to do in JavaScript is the question.
Yeah. So you think it would be faster to do it in JavaScript?
I think the time difference would be negligible. It wouldn't be particularly slower. I don't think. I mean, it would be a difference of milliseconds if there was a difference.
Is there pros and cons? Like, would you do one?
Because you need to pass it, because if you want to do like date limiting, you now have to pass in, instead of just one argument, you need to pass in 2 arguments or 3 arguments for the start and the end date. Or if you, let's say you wanted to have, I can't think of what other arguments you'd have. If you wanted to only show, I guess with that, you could just ignore some fields, but if you just wanted to show 1 or 2 of the fields, like let's say you just wanted the barometer data.
Yeah.
Then if you're doing it in JavaScript, that's relatively simple. If you're doing it in Postgres, you somehow have to communicate to your Postgres function, I only want these fields. It's just, it's easy. It's easier to deal with it in JavaScript than it is. The Postgres functions are rarely used. I mean, in general, you don't use them a whole lot.
Okay.
Because it requires communicating all the parameters to the function into Postgres.
Huh.
But I mean, what you got works. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, if you're shooting for a tight deadline, I wouldn't screw around with too much. But
No,
just
this is
in general.
Yeah, let me actually.
But I would expect it to only be like 3 or 4 lines of JavaScript. Did you have your select, and then you'd have your map on the rows?
The JavaScript is much easier than the. I had a tricky time with that Postgres piece.
Yeah, there's also that.
Yeah, I celebrated after I got that done.
I don't think you'll regret the skills that you'll get from doing that.
No, I don't. I learned a lot. Yeah, that's why I learned more probably debugging my errors that I have. Than Anything else? Any tutorial? Any article I ever read? Let me see if I can actually real quick. I need to change my. It's.
I'm gonna hop off, guys, but please carry on. I'm just gonna see if
Oh.
Sue wants to screen share.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can get this to work.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing anything. Just Buick's doing the heavy lifting. I'm not cheering you guys on.
Yeah. Do you want to do anything on Wednesday, Learner?
Yeah, we can do something on Wednesday. I was actually thinking of digging into a my meta or metagame code, see if there's anything I could work on.
Yeah, I'll post I'll post to the chat. I actually today wrote we write at the beginning, a season just ended. It aligns with the like spring just happened, spring just began.
Oh yeah, I was there at the meeting at your kickoff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I wrote, I'll find your server. I wrote my plans for the next 3 months.
Yeah, that's super organized.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that make a lot of sense. It's frustrating that we have no developers. I'm not going to do it this week, but starting next week, I'm probably going to meet with 10 Finney about that NFT minting site.
Oh yeah.
But I just posted in the welcome code.
Yeah.
With friends, my plans, and my plans are to learn Cypher. And there's actually the Cypher learning site is really neat. They use a system called Get something. I'll find it. Can't think of what the name of it is. Get, and there's like 3 letters after Get pod. And what that does is it creates it checks out a Git repository, and then using VS Code's SSH feature connects me to that Git repository, and it also spins up a Neo4j sandbox. And as you're going through the learning process, it will both check your code, like you will make changes to the server, and it will check it'll run tests against the endpoints, and then it will also, when it runs those tests, those affect the structure of the database the database in the sandbox. It'll check whether or not that database was updated as it expected it to be. It's a really neat learning system.
Oh, so is it like a unit test or integration test for data?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, but it's actually the I'll copy this link real quick too.
Yeah, let me take a look.
Hey, just real quick. This is the what I've been talking about.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I like is this the charts, the fusion charts?
Yeah, this is the fusion charts.
Yeah, very nice. Especially it looks like you can zoom in or at least scroll back and forward in the history.
Yeah. Again, I haven't cleaned it. This is just tossed together in a couple days. And then this is where the images would are going to display is over there. Which I do have to look into that. Sometimes they don't change, as you can see right now.
That is really cool. And then they're all superimposed on each other at the bottom.
Here they go.
You can see patterns.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it would just be that's the gist of it. So the images is when you scroll through. I don't know. I gotta figure that piece out. Play with it. So they always change. I feel like sometimes I get stuck on one of these charts. And then
You might look at your network tab and see if it's the fact that it's just taking a second for the image to load.
It could be.
Oh, like refresh maybe. And so you can
Well, just
see
hover over the oh.
or you can like clear the waterfall and then click.
Here.
Yeah, like you can let's see.
It's the is it the that little circle with a slash through it up at the top of in the upper left-hand corner? Is that the clear? Yeah, it's clear.
Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah, so if you click on that data point to reload the graph, then you'll get a waterfall of just the chart data, which I think is what you're looking for.
Say that again.
Like you were clicking on that gray check mark that place the marker on the map to get the graphs. So if you do that again, or whatever you need to do to refresh the chart data, then you can see the waterfall, the loading times of just the chart.
Yeah,
data.
but the images are all, it's like 13 milliseconds. I mean, they're all sub second. It shouldn't be a visible delay.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what you want to measure. You were saying there's a possibility that it was delayed because the images were loading.
The actual,
slowly,
like
right?
somehow there was a delay in the image loading, but it's not. I mean, the images seem to be loading pretty quick.
Well, it's cached now, so this could be like if you do a hard refresh where it overwrites the cache, the images probably are taking like a lot longer. Yeah, I mean that's
It could be a vagary of the charting library.
I have to look at the. I think it has to do with the code and the JavaScript Fusion Charts code. I'm sure there's something that's wrong in there. That needs to be tweaked.
okay, but that's just a performance thing, right? It's not like preventing.
Yeah. No, and right now I'm not worried about that. That's one thing I gotta play on. Obviously, it looks ugly, but
no, it looks fine.
Yeah, for just right now, just getting it going, it's good enough. But yeah, I just wanted to show that. And that's another thing too, is I wanted to understand about Express. I'm familiar with Django, but the cores and CSRF tokens, like the best way to do that with Express. If it's Passport or what have you. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part. I've done some cores stuff with Python and Flask. I think that was the last time I had to.
Okay.
I mean, I used to just spin up all my APIs with Flask because it was so easy, and I would just like copy the same examples over and over again. And I'm sure there's a way to do it in Node and Express.
Yeah, there's a Passport. I'm using Passport. That's what I have. Where's my Passport config? That's the other thing too, is I wasn't sure where to that's my auth events. You said you were gonna hop off too, right? I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah,
we can go.
I'll still be I'll be on the Discord server on Wednesday, and I code a little bit every day, so you'll see me online in the voice channel. There's one called like Study Hangout where people just like put themselves on and then they just like mute their mic and work, in an introverted lurking way. But if you see anyone in there, you can always pop in and say hi. If you see me in there, feel free to pop in and say hi. And if there's anything public you can share, because I know this seems like a product for a customer, but there's public stuff you could share. We'd love to see it afterwards.
All right. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and please don't you don't have to leave just because I'm leaving. I'll leave the Zoom meeting running, but it was great to meet you, Brian.
I want to take off. I get back to working on it.
Yeah.
With
Okay.
Information.
Yeah, if you get hung up, just drop a line in the Discord.
All right, I will do that.
Yeah, even if you just want to talk to someone, bounce an idea, rubber duck off of someone else. So
yeah, that'd be awesome. What day? When do you guys usually have these?
Mondays is the day now, but anyone can arrange a time. Whenever people are free. Like I said, sometimes you'll see someone in the voice channel. You can just pop in, or you can just ask on the channel. Is anyone free to look at some code right now? And there's no guarantee that the person will know enough to help you. Just I probably don't know enough to say this is the answer, but it's just another person to talk to. And
yeah, no, you're a lot more responsive than ChatGPT.
Well, I mean, we've been wanting to use that as a learning tool as well, but it doesn't take initiative. So you have to put everything into it. You have to click submit. You have to frame it the right way. You have to
it was a bad joke.
And so that there's still some work for it to be a coworker, but it can write poetry for sure.
Yeah. No, I use it to just sometimes I actually use it a lot with VBA. So when someone will give me a large Excel spreadsheet and they just have just ridiculous formulas in there, I just copy and paste them and put them in there, as opposed to me having to read it and try to figure out what the formula is doing and to rewrite it in VBA. It's been a huge time saver. I really enjoy doing that with it, using it.
ChatGPT explains to you the function, the spreadsheet function.
Yeah, you can just put the function in there and it tells me exactly what I'm doing. So a lot of times I'll get a spreadsheet and I look at it and say, okay, well, how long is it going to take me to figure out what it actually does? Because when the user explains it to me, they'll talk into the business terms, which I have a robust business background, so it's pretty easy for me to figure out and understand where they're coming from. But they don't usually explain it as well as the formulas do. So it's easier and more reliable for me to just read out the code. But they'll have some pretty darn complicated spreadsheets. And then for whatever reason, it's at the point where it needs to be some custom user forms, maybe connect to a website. And they're going to start using VBA, and they want a lot of the stuff automated, stuff that they can't do with the long, complex code. But I have to read all that because the spreadsheets within themselves are complicated to understand everything. ChatGPT saves hours of work of just having to pull those code. You know what I'm talking about when you I don't know how familiar you are with Excel, but you grab it and it's 20 lines of Excel nested ifs and a bunch of formula names that I may or may not have ever used before.
I must not be using the same caliber of spreadsheets as you. I haven't done anything nearly that scary. If you're doing real business analytics, then for sure you're seeing hardcore, the grisly stuff that normal people don't see. The spreadsheets I look at are easy. They're grocery store. The most complicated spreadsheet I've seen is the grocery co-op where I volunteered at, store their stock in a spreadsheet, and I helped them write some functions, but the functions were 2 or 3.
I've got nested array functions in there. I mean, you can do a lot in Excel. That's the problem with it. It's so powerful, and then you don't the people typically they'll learn, but they don't have the good spreadsheeting practices. So that leads to a lot of errors that are masked that lead to reporting of inaccurate numbers. So it's one of the big downsides of Excel is it's maybe a little too powerful.
I've never gotten ChatGPT to explain anything better to me than I could figure out myself. I've told it, explain the source code and pasted some JavaScript source code, and it knew that it was JavaScript, but it didn't say any. It knew things were arrays, but it didn't explain it in a better way. Really? So.
Yeah, it does it well with formulas. I was really impressed. There might be a few things that are off, but if it's like the complexity, I'm talking like, again, like I drag it down, it's like, oh, I gotta read through this. And it's gonna take me like half hour, 45 minutes maybe to like route it and link it to all the different cells that it's connected to. It really speeds up. Like I can get it done in like 10 minutes. Something that might take me 30 minutes, I can easily get done in 10 minutes just putting in the chat GPT. And then, oh, okay, yeah, all right. And then I just follow that logic as opposed to reading the formula. And then
Okay, well,
it makes it a lot easier to go in and say, okay, yeah, this is even just to give a quote, right? I want to spend as little time as I can doing a quote because I don't know if I'm going to get the business. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear. Well, the ChatGPT is available as a bot in our Discord server, and so if you type, bang AI space, whatever your query, we'll all be able to learn from your prompt engineering. Like if you're able to just like paste a spreadsheet formula and then have it explain it to you, and not use any other words, that's I'd be interested in learning from that. I could use some more improvement on my prompt engineering because. So far it seems like a toy, but if I haven't found a legitimate work case like you have where it actually improves my productivity yet. So I just need to, I always like learning from other people and how they use it.
Oh no, I think it works really well for Excel. And I would even, if someone's like a somewhat, I don't know how to define it. There's so much you can do with Excel. Someone who says they're a power user typically isn't. If you're pretty crafty with it and you're using it every day in the workplace, it can really enhance your ability to code complex or not code, I should say, create complex formulas a lot easier because you can pretty much tell it in layman's terms what you want and it'll write it out for you, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, well, I hope I'll get to try it soon. Maybe it'll help me learn Rust, which is like the impossible. So, well, I'm still going to be on the voice channel. Looks like Sue's there too. So if you just want to have background chatter or noise, we'll be there. But I'm signing off.
I'm taking off. Well, thank you.
The Zoom meeting. Yeah.
All right. Later.
Have a good night.
Yeah.